The global financial crisis may have dented consumer confidence, but so far it appears to have had little impact on consumer spending. Buoyed by the Rudd government's message to spend for the good of the economy, retailers have gone into overdrive, luring shoppers with discount deals all the way to Christmas. After a brief respite yesterday, hordes of bargain hunters were back at it again today, prompting predictions of a bumper spending spree of up to $14.6 billion for this next round of New Year's sales. So what are we to make of this sort of orgy of spending at a time when Australians should be steeling themselves for the worst unemployment rates in 2 decades? I spoke to Fairfax business commentator Michael West earlier today and asked him whether this current shopping frenzy is going to be enough to save jobs.
So it looks as though employers, both in retail and other sectors, have been holding on to the jobs until Christmas. Reports are starting to filter through now. One major department store, Sydney-based department store, is apparently looking to cut 20% of its workforce in the next 4 weeks. And some people have been tapped on the shoulder already. So the job cuts are starting, and they will probably turn up in April in the March quarter figures.
What do you think the collective psyche is now? Because we've been getting these mixed messages, spend, 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 and at the same time start squirreling away for this sort of economic tsunami that's coming our way.
Well, it's a bit of a problem here because people should be deleveraging. Household debt is way too high. Around the world, there's a massive deleveraging process going on. But Australia seems to be coming into the downturn, hitting the downturn, if you like, after all the other developed countries. The US is clearly experiencing badly at the moment. All the figures are down to 30, 40, 50-year lows. And in Australia, though, it seems to be almost in a fool's paradise at this point. We're still officially in denial there's going to be a recession, even though the Japanese Prime Minister has just come out and said this is the worst in 100 years.
Well, I mean, part of you can justify anything when it comes to spending, I suppose. Is there a logic at play here? This is the last chance to get the half-price dishwasher or fridge, you know, which will comfort me greatly when I'm unemployed. I mean, most people probably don't really believe what's coming. They know it, but they don't believe it.
I think you've nailed the psychology there. I think that people are thinking, well, we've still got a bit of cash, so why don't we get that? Because we're going to need that if it's a dishwasher or whatever. And perhaps they know in their heart of hearts they might not be able to afford it later on. So they've got some cash now, so it's the business of just buying something because you can at the moment, and you expect that times might get tougher.
But we are in for a rude shock, aren't we, in terms of our lifestyle?
Very rude shock. I think that there's got to be cultural ramifications from the economic fallout. There's no doubt about that. People are going to have to learn to live on less. Australia as a nation, like the US and Canada, the UK, is a current account deficit country. We've been living beyond our means for many, many years now. And at the household level, that's going to come home to roost as well. People are just going to have to understand that they have to live on less money. The kids might not be given a new car. They're going to have to make their goods last longer, and they're going to have to look to budget more.
So far, the only real job casualties we've seen have been overseas, the high flyers. What's been the social impact on them?
Indeed. Well, the brunt of the disaster to date has been experienced by the high flyers. At the very top of the top merchant banks and law firms and so on, the incomes are down, the jobs are going, and there are stories emerging in the UK papers, for instance, about the effect that it's the deleterious effect that it's having on trophy wives, for instance, whose husbands were accustomed to huge salaries and so on. And these people are generally geared up as well. And having to tell your family that you can no longer afford to, have your nails done, for instance, every couple of days might be...
Having your nails done, Michael, doesn't really rate, I don't think. We might be talking jewellery and luxury holidays here.
Indeed. Well, it's all over. The high-end luxury thing is by and large all over globally.
There's an awful lot of bad news coming out of this. Is there anything good about this at all?
Clear good news for people that have still got a job. Petrol bill is going to be a lot lower, and your interest rates on your mortgage a lot lower as well. And so generally inflation will be lower. People will be better off if they can afford to pay for things.
Michael West, thanks for joining us.
Thanks, Deborah.